And call the Senate to order. Sergeant at Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, Senators, this morning we are very pleased to have Rabbi Elisa Sachs-Cohen of the Baltimore Hebrew Congregation in Baltimore, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the 11th District. Members, please rise for the invocation.
President Ferguson, President Pro Tem Griffith, esteemed senators, I am grateful for the opportunity to offer words of meaning at the opening of today's session. I'm grateful as well to Senator Shelley Hedelman for the invitation to be here and to do so, and for the representation of Senator Jill Carter, who serves both the district of my home and my congregation, Baltimore Hebrew. As you do your work, considering the laws that will govern the days and lives of every citizen of our state, may you be filled with urgent compassion for the poor, the hungry, the disenfranchised. May you be filled with the pressing imperative to safeguard and heal our created world, Maryland's earth, air, and water, for the good of all her inhabitants. May you be filled with fierce dedication to protect the rights and benefits of all Marylanders of every race, religion, sexual orientation, and gender expression, especially those who have been historically deprived of these rights and benefits. May you be filled with wise discernment to manage the structural, financial, and educational well-being of our great state, including, and to a greater extent than in history, my own beloved city of Baltimore. And as the conclusion of your legislative session approaches, may you be filled with the appropriate pride and future commitment to the dedication, determination, and discernment you have brought to addressing the many needs of our diverse state. To paraphrase the words of the 90th Psalm, which in Hebrew says, Uma'aseh yadenu koneno alenu, uma'aseh yadenu konenehu, may the divine establish the work of your hands. May the work of your hearts and minds prosper in the service of an ever better, ever fairer, ever more fruitful Maryland. Amen.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you. Chair recognizes the senator from the 11th District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you so much, Rabbi Sachs-Cohen. I move that we journalize her prayer this morning.
Without objection, we certainly will journalize the wonderful invocation.
I would like to tell colleagues a little bit about the rabbi. She is the
Senator,
co-rabbi.
one moment. Senator, it's a little bit loud here, please. If we
to Rabbi Bush, who came here earlier in session, also from Baltimore Hebrew. Baltimore Hebrew Congregation was the first Jewish organization to be chartered by the state and the first to build a synagogue in Maryland. So it is fitting that she is here in this state house today. In addition to all the life cycle teaching and preaching responsibilities she shares with Rabbi Bush, she is the director of BHC Cares and advises BHC Justice, concentrating in recent years on racial justice, immigration, poverty, and environmental issues. Rabbi Sachs-Cohen annually leads the Rosh Hashanah Under the Stars at Oregon Ridge Park. And the Erev Rosh Hashanah service, which is free and open to the public, has attracted as many as 6,000 participants and continues to grow. She just told me when we spoke earlier that she just has come off of sabbatical, so it's especially nice that she's here with us today. She completed a clergy leadership program with the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, an 18-month fellowship, bringing together early Hasidic wisdom, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, chant, and prayer. She has had the honor of serving on several community organizations. She was on the Maryland Commission for Women, the Habitat for Humanity and the Center for Jewish Camping, Pearlstone Sustainability Coalition, and many others. She lives in Tuxedo Park with her son and daughter, and I'm just very thankful that she was here with us today this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that reflection. Thanks as well for service to the community and all the great work. Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd.
Mr. President, it's wonderful to see the good rabbi. She's a good family friend. My partner Jody and I attend Rosh Hashanah Under the Stars every year, and also our son Ezra had his bar mitzvah, and all of our services there at the temple. So it's a real honor to see you here, and pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you. All right. Any other? Excuse me. Let's make sure that we take the call here. Do we have? Madam Chair of Finance, would just make sure that everyone that is here marks themselves present. All right, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. Introductions. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask the body to give a warm welcome to the Doctor of the Day, Dr. Riarda Edwards, who's a constituent of District 12, and also running for AMA National President in June. So all the best in your election as well later this year.
Wow,
Thank you for
very
being
good.
here.
Excellent, making Maryland proud. Thank you so much for being here. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 6.
And I want to also thank her for coming. She has her office in Dundalk, and we had a great opportunity to talk about my good district. And I want to thank her for all her service that she's done for over 20 some years now in my area, right off North Point Boulevard, right down the street. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for that reflection. Any other introductions? Yes, Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance, Senator from Baltimore County.
I believe my staff up in the gallery somewhere, Linda Forsyth, who's been my chief of staff for 16 years, and Kim Dye. And on the floor is my son, Russell Kelly III, and his wife, Christina. Russell and Christina met, she's Hungarian, when he worked for NATO in Hungary. And they are here to cheer me on.
Wonderful. Welcome. I think we know more about you than you think we know. Your mother sings your praises regularly, and it's wonderful. Yes, Chair recognizes the co-chair of the Protocol Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually our day to say goodbye to our pages. We may have several on the floor with us on Monday. No, this is it. So this is their grand finale. So I'm going to read off their names as they conclude this week. Their pictures are up there on the board, and then we'll send them off with a rousing applause. So, from Prince George's County District 24, Oluwaseun Adamiloye. From District 24, as I said, the Academy of Health Sciences at Prince George's Community College. Alina Lur from Baltimore County, District 44B, Catonsville High School. Samuel Buckle, Kent County, District 36, Kent County High School. Jasmine Uhar from Montgomery County, District 14, Paint Branch High School. Tupleen Kaur from Montgomery County, District 16, Richard Montgomery High School. Tanae Kidd from Charles County, District 28, Henry E. Lackey High School. Madison Knight, Worcester County, District 38A, Pocomoke High School. Natalie Ojba from Frederick County, District 4, Oakdale High School. Isra Kadri from Montgomery County, District 15, Thomas Spring Wootton High School. And Robert Sewell from Calvert County, District 27C, Calvert High School. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your participation, and we hope that all of what you have learned and experienced here today will be a foundation and part of your launching and your life's next journey. So God bless you, and thank you so much for joining us. Let's give them a rousing applause.
Thank you so much, Pages. We wish you best on your journey, and know that you will represent us well in the in your next endeavor, wherever that may be. So hopefully this was a good virtual week for them. Any other introductions? If not, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We will jump right into, I don't think we have any yeas and nays. Let's just go right to the Committee on Finance. This is report number 46. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 637, Senator Augustine, Health and Health Insurance Behavioral Health Services Expansion, Behavioral Health System Modernization Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 637, as it came in, was a priority of the behavioral health community. It was a large bill, aspirational bill that I was very proud of. And I'm also very proud of all of the investments that we have made in behavioral health through other vehicles this session. So now what we have done now with Senate Bill 637 as amended requires Maryland Department of Health to review and consider options for adopting programs or services to provide wraparound services to children and youth with primary substance use disorders. In addition, the department must review eligibility requirements for certain mental health case management services and submit recommendations for expanding eligibility and enrollment in these programs. The bill also requires the Maryland Insurance Administration to conduct a study on operational issues related to commercial insurance carriers, reimbursements on behavioral health clinical, peer specialist, and crisis response services, and make recommendations for how to address these issues. Amendment 1 makes changes to the title of the bill and strikes provisions that establish service, reimbursement, and coverage requirements on Medicaid and health insurance carriers. Amendment 2 strikes the requirement that the department obtain federal authority to implement a plan for expanding certain services and requires the Maryland Insurance Administration to study as described. There is no fiscal impact from the bill as amended. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 637 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Senators, I forgot to talk about timeline. Today we are going to it'll be similar to yesterday, I think. We'll try and do a few hours this morning, and then we will break. We'll probably take a 2-hour break or so, and then come back 3:30 or 4 this afternoon for a second session. We're expecting the decisions on bills from the governor for the bills that were sent before early presentment sometime this afternoon, which means we will probably not take up any of them until tomorrow, but we will take them up tomorrow, not today. So depends on how many bills there are, to be determined. We'll see. The governor is welcome to sign all 39 as always. And we hope that's the case, but also know that may not be the outcome. So 10 o'clock tomorrow, and depending on how many bills get vetoed, that'll largely determine how long we're here on Saturday. And the goal would be to clear those out of the way so that Monday we just have, last minute business to close down. So that's the schedule. We'll do the best we can. We have a lot of work, a lot more work than I thought we were going to have today. So we'll see where we get. Let's go to... Well, actually, let's get these Senate bills over, and now that we have everybody in the chamber, can we ring the bells quickly and do a quick quorum call for third reader? Madam Clerk, if we could call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their presence? So the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. We're going to get these Senate bills over to the House for their morning session. This is Calendar 81. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 416, Senator Edwards, vehicle laws, driving in right-hand lanes, interstate highways in rural areas.
Senate Bill 416 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 416, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 629, Senator Edwards, landlord and tenant eviction data collection and distribution.
Senate Bill 629 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 629, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 659, Senator Benson, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Psychiatric Inpatient Care Admission Restrictions, Psychiatric Hospital Admissions Equity Act.
Senate Bill 659 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 659, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 666, Senator McCray, Schools pre-kindergarten programs and county boards of education discrimination.
Senate Bill 666 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 666, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 945, Senator Gallion. Wetlands and Waterways Program Division permitting for ecological restoration projects required study.
Senate Bill 945 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 945, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 977, Senator Lee. Correctional Services, Restrictive Housing, Direct Release.
Senate Bill 977 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 977, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. We've got another set of Senate bills. This is calendar 82. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 613, Senator Wallstreicher. Commercial Vehicles, Police-Initiated Towing Requirements.
All right, Senate Bill 613 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 613, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 726, Senator McCray. Transportation, Highway User Revenues, Revenue and Distribution.
Senate Bill 726 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 726, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right. All right, let's go to the Committee on Finance. We've got calendar number 47. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 440, Delegate Clippinger. Electricity, Community Solar Energy Generating Systems, Net Energy Metering and Generating Capacity, favorable.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the committee. Is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 440 increases the maximum generating capacity of a community solar energy generating system from 2 megawatts to 5 megawatts. The bill likewise increases the maximum allowable generating capacity of a community solar energy generating system for the system to be eligible for net energy metering credits from 2 megawatts to 5 megawatts. The bill requires the community solar energy generating system that exceeds 2 megawatts obtain a certificate of public convenience and necessity for its construction. Mr. President, there are no amendments. I move adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 440 is hereby, is there an amendment? Nope. The House Bill 440 is ordered passed to third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 662, Delegate Guyton. Advisory Stakeholder Group on Autism-Related Needs. Interagency Disabilities Board and the State Coordinator for Autism Strategy, Membership, Staffing, and Appointments. Favorable with 2 amendments.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair recognizes Senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. House Bill 662 requires the State Coordinator for Autism Strategy to be appointed by the governor, alters the membership of the Advisory Stakeholder Group on Autism-Related Needs, and allows the coordinator to appoint additional members as necessary. The bill also alters who staffs the advisory stakeholder group. The two amendments strike language that the state coordinator be appointed with the advice and consent of the Senate, and that the state coordinator be a member of the Interagency Disabilities Board. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 662 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 694, Delegate Charkoudian, Hospitals Financial Assistance, Medical Bill Reimbursement, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel as floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few years ago, we learned that sometimes patients that were admitted to hospitals or in emergency rooms really should not have been paying their bill. And so House Bill 694 requires the Health Services Cost Review Commission, in coordination with the Department of Human Services, the State Designated Exchange, the Comptroller's Office, and the Maryland Hospital Association, to develop a process that identifies the patients who paid the hospital services who may have qualified for free care at the time of care over a specified period of time, provides reimbursement to the patients, ensures that a patient's alternate address is used for safety reasons, and determines how the specified entity should share or disclose the relevant information. The amendment is clarifying, specifies that reimbursement could be incremental, specifies that the designated process could be modified if necessary, and extends the termination date by 1 year. The amendment is supported by all the advocates, the sponsor, the Maryland Hospital Association, and the committee. I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 694 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 766, Delegate Kaiser, Children, Residential Treatment Centers, Education Funding, favorable with one amendment.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 766 authorizes a core service agency, local addictions authority, or local behavioral health authority, subject to the availability of funding in the state budget, to approve funding for youth educational costs during a residential treatment center admission for medical or psychiatric purposes. This authorization applies if a youth is screened for voluntary or involuntary admission to determine whether a less restrictive alternative can be provided, and the educational costs for the youth are not to otherwise be covered under the state and local cost-sharing formula for the non-public placements for students with disabilities. The bill expresses the intent of the General Assembly that the general funds be provided annually to the Maryland Department of Health for administrative and educational costs under the bill. The amendment delays the effective date and makes a conforming change, and I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 766 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1052, Delegate Holmes, Public Safety, Natural Gas and Liquefied Propane Piping Systems, Construction Requirements, Flynn and Laird Act, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1052 is named in honor of Lieutenant Nathan Flynn of the Howard County Fire Department and Battalion Chief Josh Laird of the Frederick County Fire Department, who lost their lives in house fires. House Bill 1052 prohibits the use of non-arc resistant jacketed corrugated stainless steel tubing, referred to as CSST, in certain natural gas or liquefied propane applications. The bill only applies to a building that uses a fuel gas piping system that is not subject to certain provisions of the Code of Federal Regulations. There are no amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1052 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1082, Delegate Pena-Melnick, Public Health, Consumer Health Information Hub and Requirements, favorable.
Chair recognizes Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you. House Bill 1082 requires state and local agencies to use plain language in public communications about health, safety, and social services benefits. The University of Maryland Herschel L. Horowitz Center for Health Literacy is designated as the state's consumer health information hub to promote and ensure public access to information, to inform decisions about health, safety, and social services benefits. For fiscal year 2024 through 2026, the governor must include in the annual budget an appropriation of $350,000 to the hub. The bill also requires the Maryland Department of Health and local health departments, when awarding grants, to give special consideration to entities designated by the hub to meet health literacy criteria. The bill specifies that alleged compliance or non-compliance with the bill is not subject to judicial review and does not create or authorize a right enforceable by administrative or judicial action. There are no amendments, no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Yes, Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th on the report.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because there were no amendments, and I saw the administration supported it, and it says with the amendments put in place in the Senate. So maybe I'm reading a misprint here, but were there amendments?
No, we don't have any.
Okay.
No sitting amendments. Might have been someone who was in the House or something.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion on the report? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1082 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1127, Delegate Pendergrass, Public Health, State Designated Exchange, Health Data Utility, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1127 requires the state designated health information exchange to operate as a health data utility for the state and provide data as allowed by law to individuals and organizations involved in the treatment and care coordination of patients and to support public health goals. Under the bill, prescription drug dispensers must submit prescription information to the state designee exchange. The state designated exchange may not impose any fees or other assessments on dispensers to support the operation of the exchange. The Maryland Healthcare Commission must adopt regulations to carry out the bill. The state designated exchange must establish a consumer advisory council to bring the perspectives of individuals and organizations with an interest in protecting consumers into the delivery of services provided by the state designated exchange. There are no amendments. There's no fiscal impact. There was no opposition to the bill, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1127 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1391, Delegate Frazier Hidalgo, Clean Cars Act of 2022, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1391, number 1, it reestablishes the qualified plug-in electric vehicle and fuel cell electric vehicle excise tax credit and extends eligibility to certain vehicles and property. Number 2, establishes the medium-duty and heavy-duty zero-emission vehicle grant program within the Maryland Energy Administration. And 3, requires in specified fiscal year certain transfers and appropriations from the Strategic Energy Investment Fund and mandated appropriations. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 extends the medium-duty and heavy-duty zero-emission vehicle grant program by 1 year to fiscal 2027. Strikes zero-emission heavy equipment property from provisions related to the excise tax credit, alters criteria for a zero-emission plug-in electric vehicle eligible for an excise tax credit, and reduces the total amount transferred from the Strategic Energy Investment Fund from $10 million down to $8.25 million. Mr. President, the vote in the Finance Committee was unanimous, and I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, Chair recognizes the Senator from District 6.
I got a question on the bill.
For the floor leader, Senator may proceed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where does these funds come from for this?
The funds?
Yes.
So some of it comes, yeah, some comes from the general fund and some comes from the Strategic Energy Investment Fund.
Okay. And is this enough funds to take care of all of these types of
As
grants?
contemplated, we know that's a range of, there's a combination of things here. We have excise tax credit relief for the vehicles, and then there's separate grant programs. So you put that together, this satisfies what's called for in the bill, yes.
So it won't be a burden for this type, for burden?
No, look, let me just say, we are behind. We've been out front in many respects on EVs, but we're actually lagging behind a multiple set of states. And so I think we're trying to catch up. About 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions in our state right now are from transportation, and we are way behind the goals that we ourselves set a few years ago. We're supposed to be at 300,000 electric vehicles by 2025. We're only at about 40,000 right now. So we need to get on with it. We need to incentivize, like many other states are doing in this space. As I say, there was a unanimous vote in the Senate Finance Committee, including my friend here from 36th District. And so, yes, so the answer is that this is, the funds provided here are, we believe, adequate for the program to be reestablished.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 4 on the amendments.
Yeah, just a question. So the vehicle excise taxes, I thought those went into the Transportation Trust Fund. Do they not?
Wait, one more time. Just trying to get a little feedback here from council.
My memory was at one point we raised the vehicle excise tax, and I thought it was done so that the money went into the Transportation Trust Fund.
I might need a little B&T help on this one. Chair's leaving us. We're talking about the excise tax and the Transportation Trust Fund. That topic again was not.
Subcommittee chair of the Transportation Subcommittee.
Yes, they do. The excise tax does go to the Transportation Trust Fund. That's the question.
Okay, okay, so I guess my question with this is, even though it's a clean car, it still has tires, it's still on a road, it's still doing damage to the road. So how is it now that you buy one of these, how are we maintaining our roads? Aren't we just taking money out of our Transportation Trust Fund? Yes,
okay, so this is a very important issue. Actually, it was discussed at some length, and I'll refer back to the Senator from 36. Yes, so look, as we move to EVs, one of the big issues, Mr. President, going forward, not just for Maryland, for the nation, I guess for the world, these cars are using our roads, and yet you're right, they are not paying a gas tax, and we have to find a mechanism, no doubt about it. And we talked about that, I think, going forward next session. We had study language in some legislation last year to look at this. Other states are getting creative, and we absolutely have to address that issue. These cars are using the roads. They're not kicking in the Transportation Trust Fund. That's an issue that we will have to deal with. It's outside the scope of this bill, but absolutely 100% agree with you. That is a big issue moving forward as we expand the use of electric vehicles in the country.
And just one last question with this. You're looking at, on these cars, for example, I think the low-level entry of a Tesla and some of these things, you're looking at a minimum of what, $40,000 for these vehicles? What's the price tag we're talking about here?
Yeah, well, you can't broad brush it. I will make this point that the criticism of the program previously is it was only for folks buying $60,000, $65,000 cars. We actually, in the bill, you'll see this year's version actually reduces the price of the cars that would be eligible from, I think, in the $63,000 down to 50. No, but I mean, it was at a higher number. So I think that issue has been discussed and is at least in part attempted to be dealt with in the bill by bringing
You're
that
saying
number
the
down.
maximum price is 50,000?
50,000
or the
base
minimum?
price. $50,000 maximum is the base price has got to be not exceeding $50,000 base price. It had been at 63, now it's down to 50.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for later. Mr. President, I'd just like to, I'll speak on this just real briefly.
Senator may proceed.
My concern with this legislation is a couple parts. One is, as was mentioned, you've got people who are driving electric vehicles, they don't pay in the gas tax, and now we're saying you don't pay excise tax. So you're driving every day, you're doing damage on the roads like everybody else's car, but you are a free rider. You're paying nothing into the system. And with all due respect, these are very expensive vehicles. These are higher income individuals who are buying these for the most part. They are, quite frankly, not individuals that really need a tax break here. So we're giving a tax break to people who are higher income, and now they're going to be free riders in the system, and they're not paying into maintaining our roads whatsoever. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Chair recognizes Senator from the 33rd District.
Thank you very much. If the floor leader would yield.
Senator may proceed.
Yes.
So 2 years ago, I put my solar panels on my roof, and I put in a charging wire. Now all I need is an electric vehicle. So I've been out pricing Volkswagens and a lot of others. The BMWs don't qualify because of the 50,000 limit. But my question is this: does that include the excise? Oh, there's no excise.
Well, no. Just to clarify, you keep saying. I think the gentleman kept saying no. You get a up to a $3,000 between $1,000 and $3,000 excise tax credit. So it's just to be clear the terminology you're using.
But what happens if does that include dealer preparation? And when I went to the Volkswagen place, they were adding an extra $1,000 for just dealer markup. So could you clearly define what that 50,000 is?
It's the 3,000 is applied to the base purchase price. So if it's a $50,000 base purchase price or some amount below that, you'll get up to $3,000 off of that amount, not all this extra stuff you're talking.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any further discussion of the amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections with the amended report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1391 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. Let's stick with finance for a minute. We've got some not concurs. Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from District 6.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd like to be in the red on Senate Bill 613, please.
613 from green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Senator from 37.
Senate Bill 613, green to red.
613 green to red. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. And we got the roll call here. 36.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 613, green to red.
I tried to slow down.
Yeah, we didn't pick up on that. Thank you.
All right. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Let's do these not concurs here. We got a couple. Seems like finance was pushing back on these here. This is calendar or message 24. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 213, Chair Finance Committee, State Commission of Real Estate Appraisers, Appraisal Management Companies, and Home Inspectors, Sunset Extension Finance.
Chair recognizes Chair of the committee.
Thank you. Senate Bill 213 extends the termination date for the State Commission of Real Estate Appraisers, Appraisal Management Companies, and Home Inspectors to July 1, 2025, and requires a study. The House amendments restore the original termination date of 2033. We move not to concur.
All right. The chair urges that we not concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objection to the chair's motion? Without objection, the House amendments are rejected. The clerk will read the message.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Should the House prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the Senate appoints Senator Hayes chair, Senator Bidel, Senator Reedy. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexandra, Secretary.
Message having been read is adopted. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 217, Chair Finance Committee, Commissioner of Financial Regulation, Consumer Loans, Payment and Fees, Finance.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the motion to not concur. We got a lot of bills flying, so no worries, don't worry. A lot of folders. Are all
Senate Bill 217, a departmental bill, generally prohibits consumer lenders from requiring a borrower to pay a fee for the transaction of a payment made by or on behalf of the borrower in the form of cash, check, money order, or an electronic ACH payment. A lender may only charge a fee for other forms of payment if specified requirements are met, such as limiting the fee amount to cover only the actual or average pass-through costs of a third-party payment service. The House amendments add a requirement that at least 30 days before requiring a borrower to pay a fee, the lender give notice to the Commissioner of Financial Regulations regarding how the fee was calculated and the actual cost of collecting the payment. We move not to concur.
All right, the chair moves to not concur. Any discussion? Any objections with the chair's motion? Without objection, the motion is adopted. Clerk will read the message.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Should said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Ooh, no committee. Message is adopted. All right. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 421, Senator Rosapep, Primary and Secondary Schools, Bus Driver Wages and Study. This is an emergency bill. Finance.
Chair recognizes the chair of Finance on the House amendments.
Thank you. Senate Bill 421 is an emergency bill that requires the Governor's Workforce Development Board to evaluate and report on the possibility of paying higher wages to school bus drivers in the state. The House amendments, instead of the Workforce Development Board, require MDOT and MSDE to conduct a study. We move not to concur.
All right. Finance moves to not concur. Any objections or any discussion on the motion? Without objection, the motion is accepted. The clerk will read the message.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
Message is adopted. All right, Finance was feeling a little bit more amenable to a few other things here. And so this concurrence calendar, message number 23. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 12, Senator Augustine, Behavioral Health Crisis Response Services and Public Safety Answering Points, Modifications, Finance.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee on the House amendments.
Thank you. Senate Bill 12 requires the Department of Health, in awarding grants from the Behavioral Health Crisis Response Grant Program, to require proposals include response standards that prioritize mobile crisis units over law enforcement when responding to individuals in crisis. The House amendments require a public safety answering points policy to include training for applicable staff on implementing specified procedures. We move to concur.
All right, the chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objection to the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 12 is now again before the body on third reading for final passage. Madam Secretary, could we ring the bells quickly? All right, any discussion on Senate Bill 12? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call? With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 12, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Senator, you can't speak from there. Sorry. Why don't we? Because we're gonna. I think not right this moment. So, clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 191, Chair Finance Committee, Maryland Department of Commerce, Transparency and Efficiency in Reporting Act, Finance.
Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance on the House amendments.
Thank you. Senate Bill 191 is a departmental bill that streamlines and consolidates reporting requirements for economic and tax credit programs administered by the Department of Commerce by eliminating separate reporting requirements. The House amendments clarify the information required to be published on the Department of Commerce's website and clarify provisions of law concerning the implementation of the Purple Line Construction Zone Grant Program. We move to concur.
All right, the Chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion? Any objection with the House amendments? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 191 is again before the Senate on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 191, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 205, Chair Finance Committee, Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning, Apprenticeship and Training Council, Sunset Extension, Finance.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the committee.
Thank you. Senate Bill 205 is a departmental bill that extends the termination date of the Maryland Apprenticeship and Training Council. The House amendments restore the termination date in the bill as introduced to 2034. We move to concur.
Chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any objection to the House amendments? Any discussion? Without objection, the House amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 205 is now before the body on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 205, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 788, Senator Feldman, Cannabis Regulation, Medical Cannabis Definition and Study. This is an emergency bill, Finance.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the committee.
Thank you. Senate Bill 788 defines medical cannabis and requires the Medical Cannabis Commission, in consultation with the Maryland Department of Agriculture and others, to study and make recommendations on the classification and regulation of specified THC-type chemicals. The House amendments prohibit a person who distributes THC-containing products from distributing, purchasing for sale, or selling a product containing specified THC-containing products to an individual younger than 21 years of age, and adds others to the study. We move to concur.
All right, the Chair moves that we concur with the House amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Senate Bill 788 is now again before the Senate on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 788, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Chair recognizes the Senator from the 43rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recording the green on Senate Bill 12.
On Senate Bill 12, any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right, let's take up a third reading calendar here, number 48. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 192, Baltimore County Delegation, Baltimore County Board of Education, student member, voting and training.
House Bill 192 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded this vote? And anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 192, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 468, Delegate Ivy, Public School Employees, Whistleblower Protection, Civil Actions.
House Bill 468 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 36 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 468, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 487, Delegate Foley, Commercial Vehicles, Police-Initiated Towing Requirements.
House Bill 487 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anybody wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 487, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 763, Delegate Bridges, Correctional Officers Retirement System Membership.
House Bill 763 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 763, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1041, Delegate Valentino Smith, Department of Human Services, Family Investment Program, Contract and Program Review.
House Bill 1041 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1041, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1043, Delegate Valentino Smith, Family Investment Program, Eligibility, Work Experience, Community Service, and Reports Alterations.
House Bill 1043 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1043, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1202, Delegate P. Young, Local Government Cybersecurity Coordination and Operations, Local Cybersecurity Support Act of 2022.
House Bill 1202 is on third reading for final passage. Believe we may have some amendments. Chair recognizes the senator from District 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment.
Senator has an amendment. I think we have a number of them coming here, so.
So this is amendment number 963526/1.
All right, give us just a moment. We want to make sure, because I know there's a bunch. We're going to make sure they're on the computers before we move forward. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you. Colleagues, this just shifts from June to October, the deadline by which the state system must establish guidelines for public reporting.
All right, on the amendment, are there any objections to this amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Do we have another amendment?
I do.
All right, we'll collect the senator's amendment.
Thank you. Colleagues, this is amendment 153322/1.
All right, give us just a moment.
So there's a number of separate points in this, but basically they are all conforming various sections of this bill to HB 1346 as voted in committee.
All right, the senator has moved the amendment. Are there any objections to the senator's amendment? If not, without objection, the amendment is adopted. We have another one. Senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment.
All right, we'll collect the amendment. Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This deals with the question that came up yesterday. Minority Leader asked it. I followed up with regard to the head of the Office of the State Chief Information Officer. And the question was regarding, this goes into his or her qualifications, that they, sorry, give me 1 second here. Okay. Have experience identifying, implementing, and assisting security controls in infrastructure, systems engineering, and cybersecurity. And my comment yesterday was those are all specific things in the IT world that are individual that people specialize in. And the example I gave is it's like a doctor. A doctor isn't a brain surgeon. He's not an orthopedic surgeon. She's not a heart surgeon. She's one of those. And all this amendment does is it changes it from and to or, that they have to be specialized in one of those.
Senator moves the amendment. Seems like a friendly amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
I think we will accept this as a reasonable amendment.
All right. Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments? Are we sure? Paused. All right. Yes, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Is it appropriate to ask a question?
On the bill, oh, yes. Question of the floor leader?
Yes, please.
Senator may Madam Floor Leader. Senator may proceed.
Just one brief question, and then I'm just going to talk on the bill. Yesterday, I got a little confused when it talked about local government, and it mentioned school board, school system, and Department of Health, and I think I brought up county governments and so forth, and it sounded like they were not included in this because they weren't in the list. If you could just clarify that, does this expand into Montgomery County's network and Arundel County's?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and is there any requirement that these 24 jurisdictions have to be on Network Maryland to have this requirement imposed on them?
That is not required.
Okay, thank you.
On the bill.
Yeah, on the bill. And I want to thank the committee and the senator for all the hard work they've done on this. I know the senator specifically has been working on this for 3 years. And when you get into this, you find out it's not a simple problem. It's a very complex issue. And for those who aren't familiar with our current system that we have, we do not have a centralized IT in Maryland. We have some that are under DO-IT, we have the Department of Transportation, we have the educational system, and it's a hodgepodge. And what we really should be doing is trying to fix and make it a centralized system, but we're still keeping a hodgepodge system. And look, nobody wants to vote against puppies or cybersecurity. I get that. But in good conscience, I can't vote for it today. I'm hoping that after the conference committee that I hear about, maybe they'll take care of some of the issues. And so last night, I mean, we've all been busy. We've been sitting on committees, doing all kinds of stuff, so it's hard to find time. And I was trying to figure out and consolidate what did I not support in this. And it came down to two basic things. And one was the process of how we got this product. And then two, the content and the assumptions made in here. So historically, let me just give you a little background for this. For the past year, 3 years, including this year, the administration has put in a bill to codify the executive order dealing with cybersecurity. Unfortunately, that non-controversial bill has got tied into other bills instead of just passing that. The first year, it died. Came back second year, they put in another bill, and they incorporated it into a bigger, more controversial concept. And it died again last year. I know the department's frustrated with that because that's really not a controversial part, and we could have passed it the last 2 years. Again, this year, basically the department put in another bill, said let's codify this. Again, it's incorporated in this more controversial bill. Now, what I'm hearing is, this is what the House gave us. We had a hearing over a month ago on this bill, or the Senate crossfile. And I'm hearing this constantly this session. This is what the House sent over to us. So basically what this bill does is strikes about half of the Senate bill. And just because the House passed it doesn't make a good policy. And we should realize that. And just to give you a little context of our committee process, which we put out 99.9%, I'm very proud of. We have great hardworking leadership, committee members, but we spent hours and hours and hours on this because it was not ready for prime time. And we took up voting time, and we had agencies sitting all in the audience. Some knew about it, some didn't. And we're literally from the committee room, who wants to be out of this? Raise your hand. Different agencies, what do you want to be out of? And we'd have them come up, we'd vote it. Some were very close. We said, we'll keep you in. It's a close vote, but we're going to keep you in. We'll keep you out. In other languages, some would come up and said, we talked to legal counsel and we really have this concern. Others came up and said, we have sensitive information with criminal information. You can't really have this, we were told. So we put in a half amendment to half fix it, knowing that it fully didn't address their issue, and we'll just deal with that some other time. Because we had to move this out quickly. A month after the hearing, now we're at the end, and now we're rushing it through. So as far as the process goes, I have a real concern with that. Now to the content, there's a section in both this bill and the next bill. I won't get up on the next bill, I'll just talk about it in general terms. And it basically says the department shall take over or assume responsibility of their cybersecurity unit. Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, this bill mandates that they take over their cybersecurity, and they give you 3 different ways you can do it. Service agreement, which basically combines it into one entity where they're in charge. And agencies have come back and said, what does take responsibility mean? Is it financial? Is it remediation? And there's a lot of concern that this is being mandated. And then we looked at the scope of who all is impacted by this. It's every state agency except for a few that they exempted. That's over 20 agencies. Then you go to the locals and you have the same thing in this bill. And it says all the school systems, we can take over your cybersecurity. All the school boards, 24 of them, we can take over your cybersecurity. County governments, we can take over your cybersecurity. Some are small, some are huge. This is a lot of work being put onto the department. So the question comes, can the department do this effectively? And there's this common mistake if you're not familiar with computer engineering, and those who are in computer engineering, I'm sure have read the Mythical Man Month. It was back in the 70s, been updated in the 90s and so forth, and what it basically says is if you just keep putting more people on a problem, you'll be able to solve it, and solve it quicker. And what they've found is it creates more complexities with the communications in these complex issues that actually takes longer. So we're creating all this huge work for the department, and we're saying if we add a couple people, we'll be able to handle this. That's not how computer science works. It actually creates more problems. So what is the risk that we do moving forward with this is we take a department that is struggling to keep up with its current responsibilities and cybersecurity protections, and we are giving them a boatload of more responsibility. Up to 100 agencies they can take over, not if they want to, they're mandated by law to take them over. And if we have to split our resources that way, we may be making other areas more vulnerable to Russian attacks, other attacks, and I think that's not the way we should do it. And the other thing is, just for the body's sake, we like the committee system. We sat in committee, we knew it was on the rocket docket for some reason this year. It was going out. Well, we ran out of time, and we still had 30 to 40 amendments that the agencies wanted us to address in this bill. 30 to 40. And we just moved it out to the floor. I'm not the only one up here having concerns about this bill. Agencies have come in and said they're very concerned about certain issues, and we should have taken the time to go over those. Other minor things, we're limiting the pool, we're starting going down that path where we're going to do this, and maybe the amendment fixed some of that. But then we say, you know what? After we put all this bill together, we're going to do a study in Section 6 to see if the department really has the capability to do this. Okay, we're going to hire a contractor. They're going to come in, assess it. But you know what they did? They said, give us the report after we're mandated to take over agencies. So after we've taken over these agencies, the report's going to come in and say, guess what? You guys might not have had the capability to do that. It's just those kind of flaws in this bill. Reluctantly, I cannot support this. Again, I'm hoping that the House will come back, work in a conference committee, address these issues that many different people have, and that's why I'll be voting no. Thank you.
All right, on the bill, any further discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from District 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd just like to remind you that this bill and the other parts of the package are part of a very intense and thoughtful process that we've gone through over the past 3 years. In the past year, it culminated in this study, which includes over 34 recommendations. And the people involved in this study, it was conducted by the Maryland Cybersecurity Council. We worked closely with the Department of Information Technology, the Department of Emergency Management, and with the Governor's Office, with the private sector, and with experts from around the country to develop these recommendations. It's a very thoughtful process. We have to do something now. This bill will support your local schools, your local health departments, your local county governments, and give them the resources they need to fend off the attacks. I urge a favorable vote, a green vote on this bill.
All right, I think we are ready. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll. If we could ring the bells too, please. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Yeah, Mr. President, I want to give some kudos to the senator from District 7. The senator from District 7 introduced bills for a number of years that we didn't move because we felt we weren't prepared, we weren't knowledgeable. But I have to say he was ahead of the curve. And it took us a long time. It's a complicated issue, and I have to tell you, even on the second floor, there is disagreement. And there was a lot of heat among different agencies. There were moving parts to this bill. Some agencies wanted in and out, but the question is, are we going to protect our state in a proactive way rather than a reactive way? When Baltimore County Schools and Baltimore City, their systems were hijacked, who did they go to? They went to Do It for help. We are trying to minimize that, and at the front end, have a minimum standard that are checked and resolved so we can be proactive in this and not have a situation like you did with the health department. So again, I want to thank the senator from the 7th District for his foresight in moving this effort.
All right. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? Chair recognizes the vice chair of the committee. Has 2 minutes to explain her vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I know that, Mr. President, the chair only had 2 minutes to do his acknowledgement, but I think the committee would be remiss and the body would be remiss if we didn't also thank the diligent and focused senator from District 9 for her leadership over multiple years, focused on cybersecurity, and her persistence in coming back over and over again, focused on the details, building coalition, and getting to this point where we can move forward. And colleagues, if you have questions or concerns, A, we may have a conference committee, and B, there's next year to tweak it, but there is an urgency to moving forward this year. So I want to thank the good senator from District 9 and the whole committee.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further? If there is no further explanation of vote, the clerk will take the call.
Mr. President,
with 43 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1202, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1346, Delegate P. Young, State Government, Cybersecurity, Coordination, and Governance.
All right, House Bill 1346 is on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes Senator from District 9 has an amendment.
Thank you. Yes, I do have an amendment. It
All
is number 643126/1. So once again,
Senator, just give us one moment to get it on the board. Senator may proceed.
so it's very similar to the amendment on the previous bill. It makes some technical changes to conform to make sure that the matching language in the two bills matches, and it changes the date by which the CISO has to report from June to October.
All right, technical changes. Senator moves the amendment. Are there any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there further amendments? The chair recognizes the senator from 7th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment.
All right, give us just a moment to collect it.
Mr. President, this amendment is the same one I had
As before.
offered for the last bill. It just changes from and to or.
All right, the senator is going to move the same amendment. Presume it's still a friendly amendment. Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? If not, House Bill 1346 is before the body on third reader for final passage. Chair recognizes the senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to get up and speak on this one real quick. Cybersecurity is something I did not know about until about 10 years ago when my military obligation changed from flying to going into the cyber world. What I knew about computers was Control-Alt-Delete would reset it, and that was about it. But my eyes have been opened with regards to what cybersecurity is. And when you think of cyber, it is endless where it's going. Everything nowadays you have access to. You have washers and dryers. You have refrigerators, cars, you name it. Everything's being connected. And it's scary what's happening out there. If you want to be real scared, I'll tell you a quick story. The planes I used to fly in the Air Force as a loadmaster, I'd sit in the back, you could see the cables. When the pilots would pull the controls, that was a cable running back. It was a kinetic connection to the rudder, to the aileron. So there was no problems. Your newer planes, it's all fly-by-wire. It's a computer sending a message back to some actuator telling the rudder to turn. Somebody can hack that, and that's what's scary, and that's where we are with cyber. The senator from Prince George's County got up yesterday and talked about Russia. Absolutely, Russia is attacking us. So is China. So is North Korea. A lot of these countries. And I've been on that side where I've seen stuff, you know, with my jobs and everything I've seen, that we have to do something. Federal government has stepped up. They really are doing an incredible job. Here on the state, we're doing the best we can, but we got to do better, and this bill is a step to get us there. The bills that the chairman of the committee so eloquently said that I had put in before, we're trying to address that, but part of the problem is some of these secretaries, they don't want to give up power with regards to their cyber or their IT departments, and I understand it. But when it comes to this stuff, you have to have a central person. You have to have somebody who can make a decision and say, there's something going on, we need to shut it down. And that's what we're doing here. I commend the senator for the work she's put into it. She's done a hard job, I'll tell you. It's tough because people go back and forth. You know, yesterday I was asking for a special order. I understand we're trying to get it moved. I just wanted to take time to read it. It's not a perfect bill. I'll admit it. We found some flaws, and minority leaders pointed them out. But for me, I can sleep a little better tonight knowing that we've passed this bill because we're taking the steps we need to. The problem we have in cyber right now is we can't pay these people the right salary. What they're getting in the private sector is incredible. But to have somebody come work for the state and offering them a job, Amazon, Web Services, Microsoft, and Azure, those companies can pick these people up for twice as much as we can pay them in the state. That's the problem we're dealing with. So I do think in the future, we're going to have to step away from the government doing it to actually contractors. That's where the federal government has gone, because they can pay people what they need to be paid to do this job. But overall, I just want to say we're going where we need to be. It is scary out there what's taking place. And I will tell you this, the number one problem that we have with hacks, how it happens, is us, the users, with email. People opening up the wrong email they shouldn't have. That's the things that we need to do. And, you know, I see it every day. And I got to tell you, I'm somebody who's been trained. And about a month ago, I got one, and I was close to hitting that enter key to open it. I was like, you know what? That email address doesn't look right. Good thing I didn't open it. But, you know, Mr. President, I will be supporting this bill like I did the last one. It is something we need to do. We need to get there. It's a step to get us there. I appreciate the Senator from Howard County's effort. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further discussion on the bill? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? Chair recognizes the Senator from District 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. In explaining my vote, I just have to thank so many people. This really is, as I said, the result of 3 years of collaboration. I'd like to thank the chair and vice chair members of EHE for slogging through the details in the last 85 days. I'd like to thank all the members of the Joint Committee on Cyber, IT, and Biotechnology who have sat through really long, tedious hearings for the past 3 years. I'd like to thank the EHE committee staff who have done a phenomenal job with drafting and amendments. And I'd like to thank all the stakeholders who worked so hard on this report that I mentioned earlier. Members of the administration, members of the private sector, members of the public. We worked with MACO and the local governments and MML on this. There's a lot of people who came together to put this bill into place, and there's the money in the budget this year to get it done. And so with that, I just want to thank everybody for their support on this great bipartisan committee product, which will make us safer and protect us across the state of Maryland. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Any other senators wish to explain their vote? Just Chair in explaining his vote, also want to thank the members of DLS who helped to draft and navigate and provide the backup resources, and want to thank Senator from District 7 and the Senator from District 9. The process is tough, right? These are really complicated, hard issues in the midst of a 90-day session, but just a lot of work went into these two bills, and we got to make sure they get through the finish line on Monday, but we are safer because these are passing, and so appreciate the work of this body. Clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1346, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's...
Mr. President.
Oh, yes. Chair recognizes the Senator from 38th District.
Yes, vote change on HB 487. Nay to yay, please.
Nay to yay or yay?
Nay to yay.
Nay to yay on 1487. We have it. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Any other changes? Nope. All right. Let's go through. We've got to get through these Senate bills. We've got a report out of budget and tax. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 811, Senator Hester, State Government, Information Technology, and Cybersecurity Related Infrastructure, Modernized Maryland Act of 2022, favorable with 4 amendments.
Chair recognizes the Senator from 27th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is the third of the cyber bills that we have. Senate Bill 811, as amended, establishes the Modernized Maryland Oversight Commission to advise the Secretary of DOIT, Department of Information Technology, and make periodic recommendations on network security standards and actions to take based on the assessments. The bill also requires the Department of Information Technology to hire independent contractors to develop a framework for investments in technology and to assess the cybersecurity and information technology systems in each unit of the state government at least every 3 years. It establishes the local cybersecurity support fund, expands the responsibilities of the Department of Information Technology, establishes the Department of General Services as a primary procurement unit and control agency for cybersecurity, and exempts specified cybersecurity related procurements for the Board of Public Works oversight and approval with a reporting requirement. Members, there were 4 committee amendments. The first is technical. The second adds in the requirement for water and sewer systems and adds the local cybersecurity support fund. The third pertains to the responsibilities of the Secretary of the Department of Information Technology, makes alterations to the Modernized Maryland Commission, requires 3-year assessments, alters procurement for IT. And the fourth amendment pertains to the dedicated purpose account and makes the bill an emergency bill. The amendments all remove also remove all provisions related to the Maryland Stadium Authority from the bill. Move adoption of the amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 4 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 811 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. We've got another Senate bill that's a not concur. This is out of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 199, Chair, Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee, State Board of Architects, Sunset Extension, EHE.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Mr. President, we have a difference of agreement on a sunset extension. We are requesting stronger accountability in a shorter term. They want a longer term, so we will not concur.
All right. Chairman moves that we not concur. Any discussion? Any objections to the motion? Without objection, the motion is adopted. Clerk will read the message.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House receive from its position. Said bill is returned herewith by order Nicole Alexander, Secretary.
All right. Message is adopted. Holding strong. No conference. All right. We've got some Senate bills out of Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. We got to move along. This is calendar 62. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 98, Senator Carrozza, Somerset County, Natural Resources, Sunday Hunting, favorable with 2 amendments.
All right. Senate Bill 98, Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Mr. President, we're going to report 62 instead of 61. I don't care.
We'll do the House bills after.
Okay.
So we'll just do this. We'll do this one and do that calendar right after.
Mr. President, there are a number of bills that were introduced this year calling for Sunday hunting from a number of jurisdictions. We have had extensive discussions, and balancing interest is a responsibility that falls on the legislature, whether it's interest by geography, interest by industry, interest by class, whatever it might be. And we clearly have many hunters in the state. We also have people who like to ride or ride horses and are part of that industry, or birdwatch, whatever. So the bills came in, and I'm going to say this once, although we have at least 5 bills, maybe 6, that address this issue. So we tried to come up with what we thought was a fair solution. So the committee came up with an amendment on this bill and all the other local hunting bills that will allow Sunday hunting from 30 minutes past sunrise to 10:30. So on Sunday mornings, people can hunt while there's activity, and then the rest of the day, if people who ride horses or birdwatch, whatever, may do that as well and do it in a safe fashion. So, Mr. President, I would move the bill and the two favorable committee amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 98 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 140, Senator Eckert, Talbot County, deer and turkey hunting Sundays, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Mr. President, same 2 amendments. One is technical. One has the 30 minutes after sunrise to 10:30 amendment. Move adoption of the 2 committee amendments, favorable committee report.
We okay? All right. Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 140 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 220, Calvert County Senators, Calvert County Sunday hunting, favorable with 2 amendments.
Mr. President, this is for Calvert County, same 2 amendments. Move adoption of 2 committee amendments, favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of 2 committee amendments, the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 220 is ordered printed for third reader. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 342, Senator Hershey, Queen Anne's County, Natural Resources, Sunday Hunting, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes Chair of the committee.
Mr. President, this covers Queen Anne and Caroline County. Same 2 amendments. Move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 342 is ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to the House bill calendar. This is 61. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 51, Delegate Motts, Talbot County, deer and turkey hunting, Sundays, favorable with 2 amendments.
Mr. President, this will cover Talbot County. Move adoption of 2 committee amendments, favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of 2 committee amendments, favorable report. On the amendments, Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th District.
Thank you very much. Would the floor leader yield for
Senator may proceed.
Question?
Sure.
I just need to be clear what this does. Does this change all Sunday hunting to the amended time? I mean, currently, right now, you can hunt all day on certain Sundays. But does this then change retrospectively all of that?
Only, no, it's on expanded Sunday hunting going forward.
So it's only for those additional days, not the rest of
Correct.
the days? Okay, thank you very much.
All right. On the amendments, any further discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Now to the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 51 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 143, Delegate Otto, Somerset County, Natural Resources, Sunday Hunting, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes Chair.
And Mr. President, this covers Somerset County. Same 2 amendments. Move adoption of 2 committee amendments, favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, 2 committee amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 143 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 170, Delegate Clark, Calvert County, Sunday Hunting, favorable with 2 amendments.
And Mr. President, this is the House version also for Calvert County. Move adoption 2 committee amendments, favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amendments are adopted. On the favorable report is amended. Any discussion? Any objection? The report is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 170 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 485, Montgomery County Delegation, Montgomery County, deer hunting, Sundays, favorable.
Mr. President, Montgomery County actually has this policy in place. It was passed or negotiated some years ago. This bill makes it permanent, allows that authorization. So move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Look at this, one Maryland, you know. On the report, all in favor of the report say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 485 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 556, Delegate Aarons, Caroline County and Queen Anne's County, Natural Resources, Sunday Hunting, favorable with 2 amendments.
Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. President, this is the House cross file of the Queen Anne's, Caroline County that covers the same item. There are 2 amendments. I move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. On the amended report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 556 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Sticking with education and health, we've got report number 63. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 21, Delegate Cullison, State Board for the Certification of Residential Child Care Program Professionals, membership and official seal, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is the cross-file of the House bill, and it passed and alters the membership of the State Board of Certification of Residential Child Care. There are no committee amendments, and I ask for adoption. Oh, it passed the committee favorably, 100%. So ask for the adoption of the favorable committee amendment.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 21 is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 218, Delegate Kelly, Health Occupations, Nursing, Dialysis Technicians, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill allows dialysis technicians to be certified nursing assistants. That's being repealed, except under certain circumstances, and establishes a separate certification for certified dialysis technicians under the State Board of Nursing. An individual must be certified as a CNA and a CDT to practice as a dialysis technician. So it expands the membership in the Certified Nursing Advisory Commission, and also to include one CDT and an additional administrator from a licensed healthcare facility. There are no committee amendments. It passed the committee unanimously, so we ask for the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 218 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 220, Delegate Kelly, Health Occupations, State Board of Massage Therapy Examiners requiring license to practice and other revisions, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. House Bill 220 is the exact cross-file of Senate Bill 37 having to do with phasing out of registered massage practitioners. No amendment. Move the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 220 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 229, Delegate K. Young, Pharmacist, Administration of Injectable Medications for Treatment of Sexually Transmitted Infections, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 12.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 229 is the exact cross-file of Senate Bill 19, which is fully passed the Senate. It authorizes the pharmacist to administer an injectable medication for treatment of a sexually transmitted infection that's not a biological product. The bill applies to current law provisions regarding maintenance injectable medication to injectable medication for treatment of a sexually transmitted infection. Regulations adopted by the State Board of Pharmacy for injectable medications must be the same as those for maintenance injectable medications. There are no committee amendments. It was unanimous in committee. Move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 229 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 246, Delegate Carr, Open Meetings Act, notices, closed sessions, and minutes, retention periods, online posting, and public inspection, favorable with two amendments.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill will extend from 1 year to 3 years, the length of time that you have to keep a record about closing an open meeting. It also has to be posted on the website and made available for 5 days, within 5 days if someone has requested it. There are two committee amendments. The first is technical, and the second one basically helps accommodate for small municipalities. I'd like to move the favorable report with the two committee amendments.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. On the favorable committee report is amended.
And now, Mr. President, I'd like to special order this bill until Monday morning.
Until Monday morning. All right. Are there any objections? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time on Monday. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1380, Delegate P. Young, General Provisions, LGBTQ Veterans, Honorable Discharge, Restoration of Honor Act, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. In our past, we have not been as enlightened as I'd like to think we have moved to today, or are moving, and too many people who were serving our nation and our state have received dishonorable discharge because of their sexual orientation, and so this simply makes sure that they have their restoration of honor restored and with an honorable discharge. There were no amendments, there was no opposition, and I move the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report. Take that back. On the report, Chair recognizes the senator from District 4.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure this out real quick because aside from the social issue on this, I'm just trying to figure out when the federal government, so for example, I served the United States Air Force. United States Air Force, they decided if I'm discharged honorable, other than honorable, whatever my discharge is. And it's a big deal because as a veteran, you have a form, you got to take the form around everywhere, you get a mortgage, all that. How would we have the state of Maryland change what my actual discharge is? Because this pertains to like legal things. You can't get certain benefits unless I show for my home mortgage and other things that I have an honorable discharge.
Sure. Obviously, we can't make federal law, but we can make it apply in Maryland, and this would change Maryland law to restore benefits, rights, and privileges applicable to any veteran in Maryland.
All right, I'm going to take a look at this. I know this is a thorny issue. I don't want to get into what the past issue was, but I do have concerns over, I don't know exactly, we don't know every case why somebody was honorably discharged or not, but it's a big deal because if you're a veteran, in order to get the many veteran benefits that the state and federal government provides, you have to show that you were honorably discharged. And so once we start going into saying people that were not honorably discharged and have the state undo what the federal government did, and we don't exactly know the particulars of every case, I'm going to really look over this because there is a concerning part to that.
I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Do you want a special order to a second session today?
That would be great. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Senators move to special order the bill to the second session. Chair recognizes Senator from 28th District on the motion.
Well, could I just answer a comment on that point from the senator? Just ask a question.
Sure. We have the motion. Yeah, if maybe that would allow us to withdraw the motion. So sure.
Yeah. So as a veteran myself, Air Force veteran, I'm familiar with these issues. I have the form referred to as the DD-214 discharge from the federal government. And of course, we as a state, we can't affect that document. That's a federal document. But the state of Maryland, we have veteran benefits in the state of Maryland, controlled by the state. Benefits like nursing home, long-term care facility. We have one in Charlotte Hall, which is on the border of Charles County, called Charlotte Hall Veterans Home. That's a state-run facility. We have also state cemeteries, veteran cemeteries that are controlled by the state. So this bill will allow us as a state to say that because of unjust policies in the federal government, don't ask, don't tell, and others that discriminate against our LGBTQ veterans, and a lot of them got discharged because of those policies, we are saying that we do not agree with those policies. We have veterans who are in Maryland, in this community, who were unfairly targeted by that unjust policy. So this bill says, as a state, we will not deny these veterans benefits, state benefits, benefits that we control as a state. And there are many other benefits that we have as a state that we grant to veterans, disabled veterans, etc., including tuition assistance for veterans that are injured in the line of duty and return to the state of Maryland, and for their children. We have property tax exemption for certain disabled veterans. There are a lot of state benefits that we control. So this bill says, as a policy, the state will not continue to discriminate against folks in this community who were discriminated because of federal policy. So therefore, I would wish for us to move this bill to take care of our state veterans and doing what we can as a state to say that we appreciate your service and we're sorry for the discrimination you endured because of your sexual orientation.
All right, thank you, Senator. On the motion, so I think my sense is it's just a mechanics issue, and want to just make sure that we get the mechanics right. And if that's the case, there are no amendments on the bill, so I think we have time. If we take it up on the special, the second session, we still have plenty of time on it. May want to just get clarity on making sure that we got the mechanics correct, if that's what I understand. If that's the case, do we have any objections? All right, let's special order it to the afternoon session, and we'll get clarity on the mechanics side of it this midday and bring it back up tonight. All right, clerk will read. Was that the last one on the calendar? All right, we've got another Education, Health, Environmental Affairs. This is 64. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 243, Montgomery County Delegation. Montgomery County Board of Education Student Member Scholarship, favorable.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the committee as floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is another local bill that increases the scholarship funding for our SMOB, our student member on the Board of Education. There were no amendments. Move the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 243 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 372, Delegate Clippinger. Baltimore City Board of License Commissioners, licensee hours of operation and enforcement, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 372 is the exact Senate Bill 222 having to do with hours of operation in the notorious block known as the Block in Baltimore City. Move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 372 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 513, Delegate Ebersol. Infant and Childhood Mental Health Support Services Program established. Favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
The bill's not up just yet.
Oh. The interwebs. Cybersecurity problem. Chair recognizes
on that
senator
note,
from Baltimore City.
Mr. President, House Bill 513 is actually the result of an MSDE study to study, among other things, the goals of the project for this current project of infant, early childhood, and mental health support services. It's an existing project, and to study the need for new services, the report on the progress that has been made in the program, and other issues. As amended, this bill codifies the program within the Maryland State Department of Education, and the program is intended to promote the positive mental and behavioral health of young children. And beginning in 2024, the governor must include an appropriation of $3 million in the state budget. There are 2 committee amendments. One is technical, and the second one makes various changes to align the requirements of the program with its current operation. The bill passed unanimously. It was duly assigned to both EHE and Budget and Tax, and it passed unanimously in both bodies. I ask for the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the amendments? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 513 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Let's just quickly get this yeas and nays out of the way. Senate bills passed in the House. This is number 11. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 91, Senator Jackson. Business regulation, innkeepers, maintenance of guest records, and employee human trafficking awareness training and policy.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. Let's go to judicial proceedings. This is calendar report number 4343. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 53, Delegate R. Lewis, Vehicle Laws, Dedicated Bus Lanes, Prohibition and Monitoring Systems, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill establishes a prohibition against driving a vehicle in a dedicated bus lane unless authorized to do so by a local jurisdiction that specifies that certain types of vehicles are authorized to drive in a dedicated bus lane. This bill also authorizes Baltimore City to use a bus lane monitoring system to record images of violations of the prohibition. The maximum fine for the violation recorded by a bus lane monitoring system is $75. Otherwise, a violation is a misdemeanor subject to a maximum fine of $500. There are 3 committee amendments. The first is technical. The second requires that if the city contracts out the operation of a system, it issues a competitive request for proposals and apply all relevant procurement preferences for women and minority-owned businesses. And the third amendment lowers the maximum fine for the recorded violation from $100 to $75 and requires that for the first 45 days, a system issues warnings rather than citations. Mr. President, I move the amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 3 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections to the amendments? Without objection, the 3 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from District 6.
Thank you. I just got a question for the leader on the floor.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you doing? Good morning. Good afternoon. Just looking at the bill, and I'm seeing that, does this just pertain to Baltimore City or to the state?
No, there's city implications dealing with the cameras, right. But there's also statewide implications in terms of bus lanes. So, right. But to be clear, there's these types of dedicated bus lanes are only in Baltimore City.
Oh, okay. Now, has this been a major problem? Because I was serious, but it's been a major problem that they've been bringing up?
It's been a big problem with people parking in these dedicated parking lanes, dedicated transit lanes, and which ultimately ends up slowing up transit and harming people as they're trying to get to their destination.
Right. I know people, especially in the city, going, they got to get out of there or got to move, or, it's because of tight roads and everything. I understand that. But I just want to make sure that, I see somewhat of what it pertains to, but I just want to get a better understanding. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
All right. On the report, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've asked that an amendment be prepared for this bill, but I don't have it yet. I have reason to believe it'll be friendly when I receive it. I would ask the bill be special ordered to this afternoon so I have time to get it.
Senator, this is a House bill.
Into the calendar.
So it could go for third reader. It can be amended on third reader as well.
Well, let's just wait till third reader then.
Okay. All right. Senator withdrawals. Any further amendments? If not, House Bill 53 is hereby ordered passed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 208, Delegate Moon, Courts, Payment for Jury Service, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill increases from $15 to $30 the basic state per diem for jury service and the per diem for trial jurors for the first 5 days of jury service. It's very similar to a bill that we passed, and there are no committee amendments. I would move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 208 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 446, Delegate Forbes, Baltimore County, Disposition of Marriage Ceremony Fee, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 11 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill alters the distribution of the fee for performing a marriage ceremony in Baltimore County by requiring the clerk of the court to pay the entire amount, $25, to the Baltimore County Historical Trust. There are no committee amendments. I move for the favorable adoption of the report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 446 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 519, Delegate Williams, Circuit Court Clerk, salary increase, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 23rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill is identical to its cross-file bill, which passed the Senate 41-4. This bill increases the maximum annual salary that the Board of Public Works may set for the clerk of each circuit court from $124,500 to $146,500. Pursuant to constitutional requirements, the salary increase takes effect at the beginning of the next term of office. There are no committee amendments. I move favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 519 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 585, Delegate P. Young, Belmar County, Orphans Court Judges and Surviving Spouses Pensions, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much. This bill requires Baltimore County to pay a pension to specified retired judges of the Baltimore County's Orphans Court. The pension payment must be greater of $1,200 annually or an amount equal to 4% of the compensation at the time of retirement for each years of service up to 24 years. This bill includes benefits for the surviving spouse of a deceased orphans court retiree. There are two amendments. The first is technical. The second amendment makes a technical correction and requires the County Council of Baltimore County to establish by law certain requirements and procedures relating to the pension of a judge of the Orphans Court. The amendment also alters the calculation of the pension. Mr. President, I move this favorable committee report as well as the amendments.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Oh, yes, Senator has an amendment. Let's collect the amendment. Caught me out of rhythm there.
Inadvertently, there was a delegation amendment that wasn't attached. Thank you. Before it came out of committee. So this is certainly a delegation amendment. The first of it modifies the purpose clause. The second puts forth certain requirements on our county council to establish certain rules for this associated pension.
All right, the senator moves the amendment. Are there any objections to the senator's amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 585 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 615, Delegate Healy, Real Property, Condominiums and Homeowner Associations, Dispute Settlement, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 615 changes the dispute settlement mechanism under the Maryland Condominium Act and establishes a similar dispute settlement mechanism under the Maryland Homeowners Association Act. The dispute settlement mechanism established does not apply to the Columbia Association or the Village Community Associations for the villages of Columbia in Howard County. There are no committee amendments. The vote of the committee was unanimous. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 615 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 817, Delegate Shetty, Criminal Law, Violation of a Protective Order, Merger Prohibition, and Separate Sentence Authorization, favorable.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair of the committee, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill prohibits a conviction under 4-509 of the Family Law Article for a violation of a domestic violence protective order from merging with a conviction for any other crime based on the act established by the violation. There are no committee amendments. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 817 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1323, Delegate Bartlett, Victims of Sexual Abuse, Provision of Services, Technical Correction, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1323 is really just a technical correction. It alters a cross-reference for provision of law requiring a physician or hospital to provide health services without charge to survivors of sexual abuse. There are no committee amendments. Move for the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1323 is hereby ordered passed to third reader. All right, let's take up the layover calendar. I think we have the amendments ready. Let's take up layover calendar number 61. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 754, Senator Hester, Local Government Cybersecurity Coordination and Operations, Local Cybersecurity Support Act of 2022. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right, question is on the two committee amendments. I believe we'll have subsequent amendments, correct? All right, so let's take up the committee amendments. Any discussion on the committee amendments? If not, all in favor of the amendments say aye, opposed nay. The ayes have it, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Senator from District 9 has amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is the same amendment that we offered, and it will conform the change in the date from June to October. It's the same thing as if you just in the other House bill. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Yeah, senators move the amendment. Are there any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Do we have another amendment? Chair recognizes the senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Amendment, I've already given it to the desk. This is the same amendment I offered on the House versions, changes and to or.
All right, senator moves the amendment. Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 754 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. We'll take up layover calendar number 62 now. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 812, Senator Hester, State Government, Cybersecurity Coordination and Governance. Questions on the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable report.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 9 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two amendments. The first one adds co-sponsors.
Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. We have to adopt the amendments first. That's my fault. On the committee amendments, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Chair recognizes the senator from District 9 has an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually have two amendments. The first one is 883120/1, and that adds co-sponsors.
All right, one moment. All right, co-sponsors, senators move the amendment. No objections. Amendment is adopted. Senator has another amendment.
Thank you. This number is 883725/1. And this basically conforms the Senate bill to the House Bill 1346, which we just passed.
All right. Let's get it up on the board. Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Chair recognizes the senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Amendment at the desk has already been passed out. Same as the last three, changes and to or.
Thank you, Senator. Senators move the amendment. Let's make sure we get it up on the board. All right, any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 812 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, I think we are going to pause for a moment, and we'll put a pause on the work for the day, and we'll come back later this afternoon. Okay, so we will recess, we believe. We'll see. But before we leave for the day, a couple of things. First, we are going to be honoring, just one of our remarkable and great senators, our chair of finance. Also, before we jump immediately into that, I want to make a quick note that on Monday, we have two other senators who are leaving voluntarily, are not retiring from public service, are going into new endeavors. And so we are going to have, on Monday, we'll do one session for one of the senators and then the afternoon session for another senator so that we have the appropriate time to be able to honor those who are not coming back voluntarily to the chamber this next year. So without further ado, so this is a tough one for lots of reasons, and I think we all know and know the impact that senators will indulge. Senator Dolores Kelly has had on this chamber for her incredible years of service. Let me just quickly run through what is an unbelievably storied background. Certainly we all know that Senator Kelly was a longtime professor and dean. So Dr. Dolores G. Kelly retired from Coppin State University in 2004. We do know from the annual visit of her wonderful sorors that she is a life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, past president of the Black Jewish Forum of Baltimore, former secretary of the Maryland Democratic Party, and served on the Maryland Electoral College in 2004 as its chair and as its chair in 2008. She has been a state senator since 1995, 27 years. 27 years. In that time, she sponsored more than 170 bills throughout her legislative tenure. I think she will speak to you about, we'll hear from her about a few of those. She's been obviously an active leader on many committees and subcommittees throughout her tenure, where, of course, currently she serves as our chair of the Finance Committee. She is an active member of the Executive Nominations Committee and chaired that committee between 2007 to 2015. Was previously on that body the vice chair and a member. She served on the Rules Committee, the Legislative Policy Committee, the Joint COVID-19 Response Legislative Work Group, chair of the Joint Committee on Federal Relations, and as you can see, this recurring theme of service has certainly been throughout her tenure, and she was a recipient of the First Citizen Award in the Maryland Senate in 2017. As many of you all know, I have a personal gratitude for Senator Kelly. I would not be in this position, and we joke that I wasn't sure if she was trying to punish me or one way or the other, but just her thoughtfulness and guidance over the last 3 years has been just absolutely instrumental. I did want to take one moment. I went back to look. Senator Kelly has always had a very special place in my heart, and it goes back to my very first month in this body. And it was the Martin Luther King speech on January 17th of 2011. So I was sitting in the back corner where our senator from the 23rd District is, and I was with former Senator Karen Montgomery. And this was one of the very beginning, the first kind of more ceremonial aspects of the Senate. And on this evening, on this January 17th, I'm only going to read a small section, but I remember this exact moment when Senator Kelly was giving these remarks that I thought, wow, this woman is special. This is a different place. And it's a tough thing to hear. And I think it was that truth and honesty and justice that I think really just struck at me, that this was somebody who was always willing to stand up for those who maybe didn't have the resource or representation that they deserved. So this is near the beginning of the speech, but she said, when our contemporaries suggest that the work begun by Dr. King is now complete, that we, government, should move on to other issues, that we are now living in a post-racial society, I would submit that the sins of the fathers are still visited upon the children over the course of many generations. For families headed by the descendants of slaves and the victims of Jim Crow are often trying to swim upstream, with their hands still tied behind their back. Not only was illiteracy, faked or real, a requirement for the very survival of African Americans during the centuries when it was a crime for them to be taught to read, I submit that the racial oppression suffered by many ancestors of African American colleagues serving in this Senate was comprehensive, psychologically disabling, and was supported by organized religion, by government, and by big business. From the colonial period, one of the greatest apologists for slavery was the London, England-based Society of the Propaganda of the Gospel. This was said on this floor in the most powerful way that I could have imagined. This confronting of the racial injustices that we still feel every day. And Senator Kelly, in her tenure, will go down as a history maker, as someone who every single day fought for justice for all. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Senator Dolores Kelly to the podium. I'll bring it over here.
I can't even follow that.
Yeah, I'm going to move this down.
Okay.
I'm sorry. My logistics are hurting.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I can't follow that introduction. I'm getting old, you know. And so one of the things as I move off the scene here that we ought to all remember is that age will eventually catch up with us. At this point in time, it took me a while to figure out if I should do it this year or not. But I'm ailing. I can't drive anymore. My husband of 66 years is home with caretakers, and 2 years ago he was still playing tennis. And life just kind of catches up with you. Now, the Lord knows that I like being here. I like working with all of you. And if I were to say what I really found the most interesting part of this job, it was all the boards and commissions that I got appointed to. Some I asked for, but a lot I did not. And they sort of figured out after a while that if you ask her, she probably will do it. And you can learn an awful lot. You can add to your inventory of issues that are sometimes interrelated and sometimes simply different and interesting. So I spent a lot of time representing you, this body, and the state of Maryland on all kinds of boards and commissions. And I would recommend to some of you, especially those who are fairly new, that the best way to really get good ideas for your bills even, and to see what is happening elsewhere in our United States, is to ask for the permission to go represent us at the various boards and commissions that Maryland is a member of. I spent a lot of time in state on, on all kinds of things. The education, but out of state on the Education Commission of the states. And because I have spent my whole life practically outside of here in education, I'm interested in it from pre-K right through post-elderly. Let's put it that way. And I got to learn so much, and I would recommend to you that you can learn a lot by attending the meetings, participating on the panels, studying the issues, helping to set the agendas, going to a lot of these boards and commissions. So I spent time on the Interstate Insurance Product Regulation Commission, and in fact, I went, as soon as I got to the Senate, to President Miller to ask if I could go to one of the NCSS meetings, and there I met people who were working on insurance issues, and I met some folks from other states who had signed up to help to create an Interstate Insurance Product Regulation Commission. And they needed somebody from the Mid-Atlantic state area. And before I left the meeting, I was it. So I got to help to structure what is a subset of the NAIC, National Insurance Commission. It's interstate entity on which I served for 16 years. And I got to go to quarterly meetings to find out more than I ever would have known about what was right with insurance, what people were arguing about regarding insurance, what was possible because it was happening elsewhere, and to realize even more about the differences in the way various states handle issues that were common to us all, but because of the intricacies and the differences in our respective state structures, sometimes they had to happen differently and on a different timeline. One of the things that I found really important, because I don't find any issues that we have here which are dull or boring. Everything matters to somebody. And if we are going to represent people, there are people whose names you don't know yet sitting somewhere worrying about an issue that you can help them to resolve. And you can do it in a multiplied manner by things that you will learn from serving on boards and commissions, both in Maryland and elsewhere. So I spent a lot of time on, in fact, from, I don't even know how many years, on the, I'm trying to think of which one I was about to talk about. Well, that's one thing that is happening too, is sometimes I'm in the middle of a sentence and then I don't know what I started. So that also suggested to me, maybe I ought to move out of the seat and let somebody else do it. But I was thinking about the Maryland Consumer Rights Coalition, on which I served, the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP, as I became eventually the legislative chair of the Interstate Insurance Product Regulation Commission, served on the Education Commission of the states, and so don't just go to the meetings, really, and don't go visiting and downtown shopping when you go. You can really come back here a lot smarter. You can meet people who are working on these issues in other states and have a lot of fun while doing it. So I've spent time here in Maryland on a Maryland Sexual Assault Evidence Kit Policy and Funding Committee, okay? And a lot of us will resonate with stuff like that. You didn't even know maybe there was such a committee, but people found me because I was willing to go learn and to figure out what others might want to do. The Maryland Commission on Criminal Sentencing Policy, and I guess I was there from, well, I was there on a body that helped to create the Sentencing Policy Commission, and I got to serve, I think, about 24 years on it, representing you. You might not have known that somebody like me, who only spent 2 years on JPR, but no, I spent time there two different times, but that I was there speaking for you. And you don't want people like me to do all the speaking for you. You want to get out of these seats during the rest of the year and go speak for yourself. Everybody here is talented. Everybody here convinced a lot of people to vote for you and to put you here to represent them. They need people of all backgrounds and people with all kinds of experiences and with different philosophies of life, because that's what you're going to have to argue over and get around in order to get anything done in the long run. So let me just say that I spent time doing a lot of interesting things even before I got here, because I met good people. Rosalie Abrams, who was my first senator when I moved to Baltimore, and who at a point became the chair of the Maryland Democratic Party. And my husband and I used to go to her little office down on Reed Street when we were out of session and help her get her newsletters out. And so I got really interested in the Democratic Party and became a Central Committee person. Until this day, I'm one, though they voted last year that people like me who live in Baltimore County and who serve on the Central Committee can no longer also serve in the Maryland General Assembly. So I'm the last of that old breed doing that. I met people like Senator Rosa Pepp years and years ago with some of our common work in the Democratic Party, and knew him. He invited me when he was ambassador to Romania. I didn't get there, but I got a lot of places because of work that I did on boards and commissions. So even in Baltimore, I met a lot of Taiwanese Americans who were in my district at one time, and found myself on a tour of Taiwan with the person who's now the Speaker of the House, who's also a member of our district, because of interests we had in common and things we found out about people in Taiwan. I found myself in Turkey because of people that I served with in the NAIC, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, the separate entity they created, and so on. So you can really learn more, meet more people of interest, see how what we're doing compares with what is happening elsewhere. And I would just say, don't just sit in your seat and don't just go home and rest when the session is over. Although I won't be coming back to serve with you on the floor, I'm already working on study groups that we will have during the interim, because January 1 hasn't gotten here yet. And there's more to learn, and there are people depending on all of us. If I were to say what maybe has been one of my biggest challenges, it is just that you don't have enough time in a 24-hour day to do everything that you would like. When I first was elected, in the 4 years that I served in the House, I lived in Baltimore City, so I got to represent that district. And the old 42nd district it was at the time. We keep changing the numbers. And before the term was up, there was redistricting. I was redistricted right out, so I know about redistricting. And they took away even my house from what was any possible district that I could have won in. And the only thing they left were the 4 southwest precincts on the edge of Edmondson Village and came into Baltimore County. And the new 10th district was what I've been representing ever since. But it was interesting that once I decided, and then I talked my husband, who was always my biggest supporter, into selling our house in cross country, which we loved. We bought it from an interior designer, and we really loved it. And I talked him into doing that. And we decided I would run in this new district with just the 4 city precincts. I found that, I felt that if I were going to do that, and especially once I found that no person of African descent had ever been elected to anything in Baltimore County at the time I was moving over. And so I said, well, I might as well try to put together a whole ticket. There's no point in my running by myself. I'll need some help. We got to integrate this place. And so I recruited a Baptist minister who had been chair of the NAACP, Reverend Emmett Burns. I recruited Shirley Nathan Pulliam, our former senator. And by the way, she's had a stroke, guys. She's struggling, but she would enjoy a short phone call. She can't stay on long, but she's still Shirley, and she misses us, and she does take phone calls. And the other person I recruited at the time was Joan Parker, a retiring social worker. Joan died 2 years into the term, and we brought on Adrian Jones, the current Speaker of the House, to replace Joan Neverdon Parker. And since I had kind of put the team together, I was the one running around looking for somebody that the Central Committee could use as a replacement. I never had an idea that this person would be Speaker of the House, and neither did the rest of us. But life has certainly been interesting. And Jim, if you get appointed to another ambassadorship and you invite me to come back and visit you, I'm going to try. Let me say that over on my right, your left, is my Chief of Staff, Linda Forsyth. Linda's been with me for this is her 17th year with me, and our Chief of Staff, really, for the Senate Finance Committee, she does all of the work to make sure we are prepared and that everybody has what they need, and she's here early in the morning and late at night. In fact, Mr. President, she needs a raise. She was here, let me tell you, she was here before the other folks who are doing her job in representing the other committees. So she's on the old wage plan, and she needs to be put on a plan. She has shown many of them how to do their job. Okay, so that's Tammy. Okay, and my son and daughter-in-law are sitting here. Raise your hands or stand. Russell is my oldest son, and he worked in Hungary for several years for NATO, and met my lovely daughter-in-law, Christina. So we're an international family also. I'm going to shut up. I know everybody wants to go to lunch so that we can get ready for the second session. But I want you to know you aren't done with me yet. I'll not be chair of the Senate Finance Committee. I won't be an elected officer of anything. But I do like doing research. And if anybody here has an idea for bills or a problem you'd like worked on, keep me busy. I think my husband and I are going to be moving to a retirement community. But there I won't have to mop and clean up it. There'll be people that do all that stuff. So I'll have more time to do research and would like to be helpful in that regard. Everybody knows I'm particularly fond of our President of the Senate of Maryland. And I'll be honest, when we saw there was going to be a change and that change was coming, I got concerned that maybe we needed to be sure we were looking at all of the potential talent and that we didn't overlook some people because, sometimes the very best person isn't out jumping up and down offering themselves. And so me and my big mouth, I started to talk to people and to look at the folks that were putting themselves forward and to look at some people who were simply going along in a scholarly manner doing the job they had thus far been assigned to do. And I decided that if I could convince some other people and convince people that we saw with greater promise to make a change in the lineup, that we ought to consider doing it. And a lot of you know what I'm talking about, and some of you became co-conspirators with me as we decided that we needed younger leadership, we needed highly qualified leadership from an educational perspective, we needed somebody who knew and respected the law and who got along with people and cared about people of all demographics, the elderly, young children, whether in thriving communities or in struggling communities, just all kinds of people. If you like this guy, raise your hand. I do too. And I'm going to shut up now. Let me just say, I normally like a lot of poetry, so I'm going to say something, but I'm going to keep it really short. We're here for but a minute with 60 seconds in it. We didn't seek it. We didn't choose it. but must suffer if we lose it, give account if we abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. Thanks so much for indulging me, colleagues. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Chair recognizes President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first, I want to thank you for this week. These acknowledgments thus far have been so impactful. You know, I started to stand earlier this week when you acknowledged a member of the subcommittee that I have the pleasure of serving with. I think of him as a Renaissance man, but he's been very engaged, and I wanted to acknowledge my colleague, Senator Ron Young. And permission to use several senators. Thank you. And then I started to stand when you acknowledged the civil rights leader and advocate, the very personable vice chair of the Senate Prince George's delegation, colleague Senator Obie Patterson. And then I again wanted to stand when you acknowledged the statesman and the ambassador for Western Maryland, my good friend who I served with in the House and now again in the Senate, Senator George Edwards. But I saved it all up for today to share with all of you about an incredible friend that I found in Senator Dolores Kelly. I shared with a few people about a week ago that when I first met her, I was a little afraid of her. And when I got over to the Senate, I saw this dynamo moving through the tunnels faster than all of the rest of us. But I found her to be a fierce champion for those, as you said, Mr. President, who might not have otherwise had a voice. She's a dynamic leader who I know and have watched her champion for those in assisted living. She fought for economic justice and environmental justice. I mean, even in her own description, she fought for so many who might not have otherwise had legislation proffered on their behalf. Even those who we all know are deserving of a second chance. She eloquently has spoken in this chamber on their behalf. And I want to share this. Senator Kelly and I are dear friends and have broken bread together and had some laughs together, and I know she has an extraordinary family. We, like all of us in this chamber, don't always agree on every policy, but we still manage to move above those issues where we have differences to work together because we all want the same result, and that is the best quality of life for the people that we represent. I've found her to be a person of integrity. She is a classy lady who stands firm and speaks with a strong voice. We celebrate her today because we all have tremendous respect for her, and I just cherish all that she has brought to this body and the state of Maryland. I look forward to her continued research and her continued work. I mean, she's been in the banking industry. I don't know an industry that she has not touched on behalf of our community and our state. And so, Senator Kelly, I just want you to know we love you, we appreciate you. Your service will not be forgotten, and what comes next is that book that we're looking for from you. God bless you, and thank you so much for your contributions.
Very well said. Chair recognizes the Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. The senator from the 10th District and I came across from the House the same time. Also with us was the Attorney General, Brian Frosch, the senator from Montgomery County, who was first chair of Budget and Tax, vice chair of Budget and Tax, and now serves as U.S. Senator for the state of Maryland, Chris Van Holland. And this is our second iteration of sitting next to each other. We sat further back in our younger days and over on the left side. Now, hopefully our move to the center doesn't reflect a change in ideology. I don't think it does, at least for the good chair of finance. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of sitting in a seat that was utilized by the late Clarence Blount, who is one of the finest gentlemen I've ever known. I was a young rookie sitting on his committee, and I learned a lot. I picked up a little of his patience, not enough. But the second honor has been sitting next to the chair of finance. Now, look, we all have our quirks. Now, you don't have to start listing mine. And there may have been once or twice where I've put my hand on the good senator's arm and said, you don't need to get up. But I can tell you when she has gotten up and you listen to her argument and her debate, the logic and the intellectual glue that holds it together has always been astonishing. And I never, it might take a little while getting there, but it is unbelievably coherent and logical, and it really reflects her being an intellectual. And the Senate President talked about her many degrees. I don't believe there is one family represented in the whole legislature that has as many degrees as the senator and Russell and her family. I mean, they have cherished education, academic. And again, that's not to be dismissive of people who don't pursue academics and go to college, but the intellectual curiosity and being a lifetime learner is clearly embodied in this lady. There's no question about it. I think you could hear it in her comments, in her life's experience. And I think I will remember all those years of being in the chair of Senator Blount and next to the finance chair. And let me finish with this, Mr. President. I think the word patriot has been misappropriated for way too long. It's not relegated or shouldn't be relegated to white males who served in the military, because I think that's usually when you hear about it. And I think we have to reappropriate that term. And when I think of Clarence Blount, who actually was a military leader and a hero, and I think of the good senator, if I can use her name, Kelly, the chairwoman, I think of the word patriot. There are people who fought for their country and for everyone in that country and never letting down. And she fought for Jewish people in Baltimore. And she fought for, I can't name all of the places and people she's fought for. So I want to thank you, Senator, for, in my mind, being a patriot to this nation and to the state. Thank you.
Well said. Chair recognizes Senator, Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I just wanted to say that there are 14 black senators in this chamber, and for the 13 of us, it's without question that the barriers that you've broken down and the sage advice that you've given us has made us who we are today and has allowed us to excel in our profession and our endeavors here on this floor and in this chamber. For the class of 2014-15, a number of us are here. We don't have the length of years of exposure with you and working with you, but I will tell you, and I don't want to speak on behalf of all of them, but it is without question that your advice, your wisdom, your example, and the doors that you've opened has unleashed opportunities for us and for those that are going to come behind us. And that is exactly what the type of legacy that I think all of us want to have when we leave this chamber. And so just from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of all of our hearts, just thank you for your example, and thank you for your work. Thank you for your advice and for your love, and we will truly miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from College Park, who I hope is inviting the senator to a trip to Romania.
Absolutely, absolutely. Obviously, I agree with the comments of all my colleagues. We all know her brains. We all know her work ethic. We all know her energy. We all know her passion. We all know her sincerity. We all know her honesty. We see it every day. She mentioned that she and I met before she was elected to office. She was the secretary and I was the treasurer of the Maryland State Democratic Party, and we've been friends ever since, and that's what I want to focus on. We've never served on a committee together. I've co-sponsored probably 98% of her bills. But we've mostly been friends. She has come so often to College Park visiting me and my wife, and I just cherish her friendship more than anything else. All the other things are true, but to me, Senator Kelly is my friend.
Well said. Chair recognizes Senator from the 36th District.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Personally, I was hoping that Madam Chair might go all the way through to sine die for us in her comments, but if you've been here for 32 years, you can certainly talk as long as you want. And it was a pleasure listening to your comments here, but more importantly for your leadership in Senate Finance. We've been there together for 4 years now. You made your return back to the committee, and I would like to just say from at least our side of the aisle how much we appreciate you including us in the process. We may have disagreed on some items sometimes and some issues, but you always allowed us to speak. You always listened to the words that we had to say and our thoughts on things. And a lot of times, Mr. President, we can't ask for anything more than that, and it's very much appreciated. You've worked for compromise so many times in our committee, brought people together. You worked on concession. So many times we've had different groups come and talk to us, and Madam Chair would say, go out in the hallway, come back together when you've reached a solution. And there's a lot of bills that come out of Finance 11-0, and it's because of your leadership there. And I really want to thank you for that. I do also want to say, and a number of the people from the business community have texted me as well, to make sure I thank you on their behalf. You know, we do a lot of labor and employment law in there, and a lot of times it's very difficult to find that unique balance between businesses and employees. And you've always strived to get us to get there on some things, and it's been especially noticeable after the pandemic and what we've occurred, and she's had great leadership in not pushing too much against the businesses, and they want to let you know also that they certainly respect that. Finally, you know, if anybody has watched any of our voting sessions lately, they've been a little bit animated, I would say. We've maybe even aggressive at some times. But Madam Chair, you've kept us all together. You've kept us as a team. I think every time that we've come out of one of those voting sessions, no matter how heated they've been, we've all, you know, shook hands, put arms around each other's, remained friends, and that's very much because of your leadership. So thank you so much for your service and leadership in finance.
Thank you, Senator. Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just weaving together some of the themes of the prior 4 speakers. Let me just, I did not, permission to use the chair's name. I did not know Dolores Kelly that well, but as you can imagine, after 4 years sitting right next to her, behind her in the committee, you get really, really well. And you know, just kind of a few themes I just jotted down. I thought it was sort of important. I'm going to come back a few weeks ago. The senator from the 47th got up and talked about, when we talk about trailblazer, you know, yesterday we celebrated the United States Supreme Court, first African-American female justice. As the senator from the 47th talked about, back 56 years ago, this woman was trailblazing in academia, getting PhDs, getting master's degrees, and I can't remember the data. It was like 0.3% of our young African-American women were doing that at that time. So we are talking about a trailblazer. The EE chair talked about intellectual curiosity. That could not be more true. There is not a bill in the committee where the chair of the committee does not want to drill down, sometimes to the chagrin of the other members of the committee, into the issues. And she cannot be pigeonholed. If you look at this 35-page document, I mean, this is widespread. And yet I will echo the comments of the President Pro Tem when it comes to being a voice for the voiceless and some of the other themes here. She has been there and in a very, very significant way. She is tough. My colleague from the Finance Committee pointed out that we've got some strong personalities in that chamber, in that committee. And anybody who's watched our sometimes raucous voting sessions this year know that to be true. But they also know that nobody's steamrolling Chair Dolores Kelly. For all the folks who want their bills acted on now, and we've had even the last few weeks, she is tough, tough, tough. She holds her ground. One final thing I have to just say, she says what's on her mind. Now, Tammy's over here. I sit next to her in that committee, and she is not shy to lean to her right and tell me her views about the bill and the sponsor's presentation of that bill. And unfortunately, during the Zoom era, we can now call it the Zoom bill hearing era, oftentimes that was caught on a hot mic. And I would say, Madam Chair, you need to turn that off. You realize you're out there for millions of people watching the Senate Finance Committee. And she'd say, I don't care. That's what I think. And so I will just say, kind of in closing, trailblazer, yes. Mentor to many. The senator chair of the of JPR kind of hit that theme. Smart, intellectually curious, tough, stands her ground, a straight shooter. That's the Dolores Kelly I've gotten to know over the last four years. And it's been an honor to be your vice chair, and congratulations on a job well done.
Well said. Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. Permission in advance to use the senator's name.
May proceed.
You know, we
just give a.
Let's just do a blanket. That's right. It's been an honor to serve with Senator Kelly on 2 committees during my relatively short time in the Senate. We were together on the Judicial Proceedings Committee for 2 years, and then I've had the opportunity to be on the Finance Committee these last 2 years. I'm so 2 major thoughts. First of all, I'm so glad that Senator Kelly mentioned all the boards and commissions that she has served on. I want to say something sort of funny about it and something serious. Number one, some of us had worked out possibly a drinking game we could play, because almost every issue that comes up, Senator Kelly would say, well, you know, I served on a commission or I went to this conference. And I laughed about it, but the truth is, unlike some folks, when she goes to NCSL, she doesn't go play golf. She goes to the meetings like you should. She would recall things from meetings and things that she's been a part of. So she always, when I first got to the Senate, I had one senator told me, when Senator Kelly gets up, you know, she may start out a certain way. You're thinking, what's she doing? She's getting to a point, and she's got a good point. Something she remembers, something she knows. She knows. So that's something I've always admired, even though we've had some strong disagreements from time to time about policy. I admire that, and I really admire that. And the other thing that I think is really fascinating in the presentation that Senator Kelly that you made just a few moments ago, you talked about how every bill is important to somebody, every issue is important to somebody. I want to add on to that you never know who's listening to you. And my first memory of Senator Kelly was from 2007. I was a Senate staffer, and it was a special session at a time, and I'll say at a very partisan time. Had just had a new Democratic governor, had beaten a Republican. The governor at the time was pushing a sort of major tax increase on several different levels, and obviously Republicans were opposing that very strongly. One of the bills was adding the sales tax to services, but a whole bunch of services had been taken out of the bill, and largely, candidly, because I think they had people representing them to make sure they got taken out of the bill, but there was a few that were left in this bill. And I remember I was listening because they were meeting on a Sunday, which is very unusual. It was a Sunday afternoon or evening, and I was listening. I wasn't down at the office. I was listening at my in-laws' house, actually. I'm sure they were wondering why I was listening to the Senate floor, but I was listening, and the Republicans were offering a number of procedural maneuvers, like we sometimes like to do, and debating particularly adding the sales tax to services. And I heard this voice get up, and I knew all the Republican senators' voices pretty well, being a Republican Senate staffer. And I'm like, who's getting up? And it was Senator Kelly that got up to say she was very concerned that this was going to apply to lawn work, to yard work, to these sort of services, because she knew from her district that there are young men, young women too, that are going out making a little bit of money trying to pay for college or pay for things that they need or support themselves, and she was very concerned about that. And then she voted with the Republicans, I think, on a couple of these procedural maneuvers. And then finally, I think now having been a senator, I understand those conversations that happen in between those votes. All of a sudden, they were taken out of the bill. They got amended out of the bill. And I thought to myself, and I remembered that, and when I had the opportunity to come join the Senate 7 years later, I remembered that. And I thought that's really something I think we can all learn from, is that we should always be a senator. First of all, you never know who's listening, but then so be careful, but also you never know who's listening and who you can inspire. But number two, we always want to remember the people or the groups that maybe nobody has spoken up for, that don't have a lobbyist. And I think that's one of the best things we can all do as members, and Senator Kelly has embodied that through the years. Occasionally I would be frustrated because I didn't agree with her, and other times I agree with her, but Senator Kelly's a great example for always speaking up, and you never know who's listening when you speak up for those that nobody else is speaking for. So congratulations on your amazing career and for being somebody who breaks down walls and barriers, and we wish you the best in your, I'm going to call it semi-retirement. So
excellent. Thank you, Senator. Chair of the Baltimore County Delegation.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I don't need that permission to say her name anymore. We all know who we're talking about. But over the years, it's been a long, long time. I just said to Dolores the other day, you know, when I first got here, she had just moved to the Senate. I was new in the House, and I had to come over and talk to her about a bill. And I was so nervous, my palms were sweating, and it was really scary. So over the years, when I got to the Senate, we worked on with different chairs and everything else, and when I got to be a chair of the delegation, I realized what I was up against with her. When she knows what she wants, she's going to tell you once, twice, stand up and put her hand down, and I'm going like this, sit down, and we went through that many a time. But you always knew what you wanted. We always knew. Just last week, you said, no, I don't want that. And we okay. So, and that was very much appreciated. But the best part of this whole story is she stayed at the Calvert House this year. And I had the opportunity to walk over and just walk and talk and sit and just have some chats. And she's been down in my office, and we've gotten to be real good friends, and she's my BFF. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Anne Arundel, followed by the Senator from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take my mask off for this. Everyone, well, we love you. Just you being who you are, as the good chairman said, inspires us. I would often, even when I was in the House, I just couldn't imagine what it was like to be a woman in this chamber 20 years ago, in that chamber, to be a black woman in this entire body. And so seeing you walk so proudly and strongly gives each of us, when we feel that we're not fully appreciated for who we are, when we know we continue to fight against the racism, sexism, and homophobia, which, by the way, how honored I was when you stood up to stand up and defend marriage equality, you know, as a strong black woman. That meant a lot to me. But I will say, actually, after all the thing that has meant the most to me is that this year, when I defended a bill or presented a bill to your committee, you finally said I did a good job. So I'm glad that after 12 years, but it was that always knowing that when I went to that committee or wherever you were, I had to come correct. And so I bring that, you know, always. And you continue to inspire probably millions of women and men across this country. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Senator from Anne Arundel.
I'm also going to take my mask off. So thank you, Mr. President. So I'm new to the chamber this year, obviously, and new to the committee, and I just want to personally thank Chair Kelly for your mentorship and your leadership and for putting up sometimes with some of the stuff that we come into committee with. But I've just learned so much about you and have been so amazed and in awe of, as so many of us have said, your education at such a young age in a time in this country that black women, black people didn't get through PhDs. I've just been amazing at what a trailblazer you've been, but I've just so enjoyed being in your committee and learning from you. And the other day I was coming over in the halls, which I don't usually come through the hallway because it's easier to run across the street, But Dolores was coming right behind me, and I said to her, I need to get out of your way because you're faster than I am. So, Dolores, you're truly amazing, and we will miss you. But thank you for everything that you've taught us and shown us, particularly the new senators this year. And we'll look forward to continuing to work with you and taking your advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I think we have two more. We'll go to the senator from the 47th District.
Thank you, and I apologize. First of all, forgive me, Senator President, for jumping the gun a little bit earlier. But you know, what can I say about our chair? She has just been an unbelievable, as has been mentioned, mentor to me. I came in here I didn't come from the House or anything else like that, so I came in here as just a clueless person, absolutely clueless. And the chair is not the easiest person to maybe get to. Y'all kind of know that, right? And I'll just tell us really briefly. As a new senator, I was talking to the Senate President Emeritus, I can't get to her. I'm like, I can't get to meet with her. I've been put on her committee. I'd like to meet with her and everything else. And so he said, well, you're just gonna have to go get to her. And so I did. I just went to her office directly. She's eating her lunch. And she was the word that I think of her so much of. She was just gracious. She's such a gracious person. So eventually she I got in there and I'm talking to her, and she's talking and everything else. And she says, well, what jurisdiction are you interested in? And I was like, okay, well, I'm interested in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and these other things. I was so clueless. I didn't know that she was talking about the things that are inside of our committee, inside of finance, but she didn't embarrass me. She didn't embarrass me. She just started the process of taking me under her wing because that's what I needed. And she's done it for so many of us. A senator from the 45th District, she said that too, how she has just taken so many of us under her wing in a way that she's just made me better. She's made us all better. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm the senator that I am today because of you. And I just really cherish that. And I will also just say, she's been talking about these study groups and stuff like that. A couple of days ago, as she continues to educate me in this process, she was, weird because we have had in our voting session, stuff like that. She pulled me aside, as she typically does. Yeah, those bills you're working on ain't working. They ain't going anywhere. We're going to have to work on those over the interim. And I'm going to be there to work on them with you. And so, Chair Kelly, I love you. I just appreciate the fact that you have just been there so much for all of us, and I really do look forward to continuing to work with you on these issues that we just so deeply care about during the interim. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Senator. I think we'll give the final word here to someone who I know has a deep cherishing relationship with the chairwoman. Senator from the 44th.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to try to keep myself together. An advocate and a champion is someone that we all need. I don't have to ask for permission to call her name because she's always been Senator Kelly to me. I mean, that's what I've known her as. She was my senator when I lived in Baltimore City. She is someone who I first met through her husband. We're in the same fraternity. And I remember I was in graduate school and had applied for one of her senatorial scholarships, got an opportunity to meet, worked in her office, worked on campaigns, always been a mentor, giving you, I'm sorry. Yeah, always giving you tasks to make certain that you were learning things along the way. She was always looking out for people like me in Baltimore County to make certain that our communities had leaders She talked about, I'm so sorry. She talked about serving on boards. Prior to me being in the General Assembly, I think she put me on at least 3. I was on the Consumer Council at one point. I was on the Red Line CAC at one point. I was even on the Citizens Advisory Committee to the Chesapeake Bay program, not knowing anything about the Chesapeake Bay, but it was a great learning opportunity to learn about TMDLs and all these things that somebody like me had never heard of before. When, in 2013, when I first talked to her about running, and a lot of people don't know this because they kind of think, or they look at you with the relationship that you're just going to be some sort of minion and just going to follow and do whatever she says. I told her I wanted to run for office because there was these vacancies and things, and she kind of looked at me like, you don't want to do that. And she tried to talk me out of it. It was her chief of staff and some others who said, don't listen to her. It's your time, you do it. And I did. I said, I had another conversation with her, told her I'm gonna do it, and she said, all right then, let's start strategizing about getting you in. And that's what she did. Because I don't want to stand between our luncheon session. I just want to point out one thing in terms of talking about being an advocate and being a champion. A few months ago, our county council did something that I thought wasn't right to our black community in the county. When they were doing their redistricting, they put forth lines given and essentially ignoring the fact that Baltimore County is becoming a much more diverse jurisdiction. According to the last census, we were about at 47% non-white, yet the lines were drawn in such a way that the probability of getting one council person that was not white was pretty certain, but the population was enough that we should have at least, by my math, had 3.17%. So we settled, we said, look, we should at least have 2 members who are black. And they ignored those kinds of arguments. And they put a map out, and I remember reaching out to Senator Kelly about it, and we started strategizing. She said it wasn't right. I reached out to some of the advocates, and I said it wasn't right. And I said, you know what? A lot of people aren't paying attention to this. We need to pull together a press conference. And I spoke with Senator Kelly about it. She said, that's a good idea. I talked to the advocates. We pulled it together. So for someone like me, I'm still attempting to build a reputation. But then having her standing next to you on a fight that you thought was just, having her next to you. Extremely awesome, and you know, it made me know that what I was doing was in some great footsteps. So thank you.
They say that the Senate is a family, and I think this week has shown more than most is why the Senate is that family. With that, Chair of Finance.
I know we've got to vote, so let's say, when are we coming back here?
3:30, I think.
Okay, then at 2:30, we'll meet to vote.
2:30 for Finance. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair of Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs.
We too will meet at 2:30 for voting.
2:30 for EHEA. Budget and Tax.
2:30 for budget and tax, and just a reminder to everyone, there's a lot of food left over from last night.
Very good, very good.
Lunch is available.
2:30. All right, Chair of JPR, do we have a bingo?
Thank you, Mr. President. 2:30 for voting.
Bingo it is. 2:30 across the board for all the committees. Any other standing committees, select committees, delegations, protocol? Yes, please. Protocol committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I just want to remind you that tonight we're doing the roast and toast at the Market House. We asked for RSVPs regrets only, and we haven't gotten anybody. So hopefully we have 100% attendance, but just in case you can't make it, let us know, because we are kind of, we're keeping track of the numbers. It's going to be a great time to say anything that hasn't been said yet. Really special, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Any other announcement? Chair recognizes Senator, Chair of Finance.
Chairman's keeping me straight. While we were doing other things, she was finding out we don't have that much to vote on, so we'll, about 3:15.
3:15?
Yeah.
Whoa. How about 3:10?
3:10. Okay, well, to be safe, 3:05.
3:05. I like that. Good negotiation. That's it. Solving problems. 3:05 it is. Oh, Chair of Rules Committee.
Can we have the Rules Committee to meet across in the room where we always meet?
Excellent. After session, right after this.
Right after.
Perfect.
We'll only be there a few minutes.
Deal. Thank you, Madam Chair. All right. Any other announcement? Chair, Baltimore County delegation? Nope. Nope. We're good. Anything else before we quorum call? Chair, Budget and Tax.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about altering. We do have hearings that we're going to have to do. Those
roll it back.
Stadium bills. How about 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock for Budget and Tax. 2 o'clock for Budget and Tax. Any others? All right. If not, let's do a quorum call before we recess.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand in recess until 3:30 this afternoon.
3:30 this afternoon. Without objection, so ordered. Have a great lunch.